So, all right, everyone, we want to thank you for taking the time today. Good morning, good afternoon. My name is Scott Mitchell, and I'm with Jordan Wojtowicz, and we're here to do a demonstration today and talk a little bit about billing verification for land development. This is going to be a 30-minute presentation, and of which we're going to go through a couple of topics. We're going to go through some use cases. We'll show the software, and we're going to go through some tools as well. And it might be a little fast. If you have any questions, please feel free to put the questions into the Q&A. If we don't get to all the questions, just know we have all of your information. We'll make sure that we answer your questions after the meeting. Like I said, there will be a Q&A at the end. And that being said, let's just get going. I think this is going to be a good meeting. This is one that's near and dear to all of us, just because of how critical this topic is to the industry. I think that accurately being able to bill, especially in the land development stage, there's several challenges. One so being just, it's not as easy as within the vertical stage, like where you can, measure windows as opposed to dirt movement, things like that. And so, one thing that we want to keep in mind as we're going through is just where it's easy to track progress, in the grading stage, and how we're going to be able to show you the tools to be able to do that. All right. So with Tracera, one of the things that we're going to do again is one of the words that I like to say is a gut check. We're going to give you those tools to give you that accurate, great gut check to see where you are. Again, tracking quantities is one of the things that we'll do, and I can pass that over to Jordan, and we can go through some of the use cases.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Scott. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining today. I want to start by talking about some use cases before we jump into the platform, because I think it's important to understand maybe how some of our current clients have used Tracera in the past and how they're currently using Tracera for billing verification or just verification of any kind as those milestones happen within a project. So the first use case that I'll talk about, it does have to do with overbilling and having those invoices. We had a client who got an invoice for some dirt movement that was happening. It seemed to be quite high, very high, and thankfully we were flying on frequency. We typically do weekly or bi-weekly flights for our clients. So thankfully we did have that historical data. So our clients were able to go into Tracera on their project and verify the quantities moved over time. And it turns out that they were billed by nearly double. So significant savings there. Had they not had the data, it would have been a very, very long, drawn out process of trying to get through that discrepancy, right? So that's one way that we've been able to help there. And the second has to do with utilities. So whether that's your water going in, different things like that. We had a customer in the Pacific Northwest who actually utilized our overlays tool, which you could see in that picture there, and I'll go over that a little bit later. But he was actually able to identify a utilities trench being, the movement started happening right where a future home was supposed to be. So thankfully he had that data. We flew the site the day before. So he was able to take a look at that and say, okay, not only is that utilities trench being put in the wrong spot, but that's not going to work when the house goes up. So it would have cost him hundreds and thousands of dollars, right, to be able to fix a mistake like that. And the third is the importance of a gut check. I think that kind of comes in with all of the examples I've talked about so far. But Johnson Development down in Houston, they have a large master plan community that we're flying, and they decided to take a proactive approach and utilize Tracera on this project, because previously they had some discrepancies with, their cut fill and some of the contractors. So they didn't want to have that again. So they were proactive. We're flying that. It's over 1,000 acres, and they're able to monitor their cut fill balance on a weekly basis to ensure that, hey, are our elevations on the drainage and retention areas correct, right? So it's not only just verifying invoices, but it's just verifying the work that's being done, and is it being done to the standards of the project that's going to make it successful and stay on track. So now I'm going to move into the platform. I know we've got some current customers on our webinar. We might have some new faces here today as well. So this is our project dashboard. I'm going to come into this one here and just show you guys a couple of the tools that our clients have used in some of the stories that I just shared.
Which one do you want to start with, Jordan? I mean, there's a lot that we can choose from here.
Yeah, there's a lot. I think a good starting point might just be our overlays and being able to see the utilities on a site as well. What do you think, Scott?
Back to the gut check. I mean, I really like that too, because just being able to when we fly that site to get that visual image, being able to kind of put up that overlay again, it's just that visual gut check. But I'll let you carry on with it.
Yeah, absolutely. So we can have different overlays in here along with the CAD file that's that final design grade plan. But the importance of having the overlays stitched directly to the site is you can actually come in here and verify, hey, are our meter boxes in the right spot? We hear that a lot with the multifamily developments, right? Things are pretty tight knit in those communities. They want to make sure that, they can't be off by a foot or a couple inches. They need to be in their correct homes. So this is one way we can see that. And this is that customer utilize our overlays tool to identify that utilities trench being put in the wrong spot. So you can see this here underneath the overlay. And underneath our plan and track tool, our measurement tool, we have the counter tool. So this could be used for a number of things, identifying meter boxes, manhole covers, things like that. Scott, there's some things you want to add in here?
This is one of the most basic tools, and we just added this. I think we added it about 1.5 years ago from my knowledge. That's when it came to my attention. And when it was brought to my attention, it was by a customer talking about how this is saving them hours of time, whether it's tracking, I mean, anything. You can track, utility installs. You can track, if you have gutter installs going on. And, there are countless stories that we have today where just doing some, progress tracking and being able to use this counter tool historically to go in and realize that there weren't certain installations that took place. And then going back to your contractor to say, hey, I paid, or you're asking me to pay for something that you have not performed yet. The work has not been performed. And being able to use this tool to quickly identify areas of where something maybe is not accurate has been really powerful. So again, very basic tool, but a tool that is near and dear to my heart.
Yeah, thank you, Scott. And just also adding just another way to stay organized in the platform. You can always save this as an exhibit so that you can come back and everybody can collaborate and be aware of some of the things that need attention. All right. So the next is the tracking quantities, whether that be a stockpile we want to look at, if it's a spoils, we're going to have to export, or just our overall cut fill. If we want to better monitor that, we can utilize our tracking quantities tool.
And I like this tool a lot as well, too, because it's going to give you that very accurate measurement, down to 1/10 of a foot, is what we guarantee. But just being able to have that, really accurate measurement on that dirt quantity, and being able to understand, the cut and fill, and as it's coming and going, scan over scan, however often we're on site. I think it's just so powerful because it is accurate data. It's a source of truth that you can collaborate with, all kinds of folks, your contractors, if you want to share this information, But again, it really becomes that source of truth.
Mm-hmm. And a trust but verify, right? So being able to, and especially on these projects where a lot of mass grading is happening, it can be difficult to track that dirt movement. So this is a good way to just stay on top of things. And it's not always verifying a bill or anything like that, but it could just be making sure you're on schedule, right? With the timing of your development and turning that over to vertical as well.
And one thing that we didn't even talk about with all of these tools, I think that a challenge that, and truthfully, I should have brought this up in the beginning, everyone, but I think that a challenge that we also have, in land development is often, folks that are dealing with invoices and billing, they're in the office. They're not on site. They're not necessarily, they're visually adjusting or looking at the information they're given. They're just getting invoices. And so to again have something that's accurate and powerful, that's like giving you the ability to check your measurements, check your quantities, things like that remotely, has become a really powerful tool, not just for the folks in the field, but also for the folks in the office.
Yeah, that's a great point, Scott. And even when we look at things visually, whether it's you are on site or you're looking at your project on Tracer, it's one thing to be able to see a stockpile or see a certain area, but to be able to actually take your measurements to find out exactly, hey, how many cubic yards of dirt are we looking at here? And if we cannot use it on site, at least now we know exactly how much we need to account for per cubic yard if we need to export or buy the truckload, right? Get a good sense of what that might look like. So eliminating the guesswork, knowing exactly, hey, we've got about 288 cubic yards of dirt here. Can we find a home for it? If it has to be exported, well, at least now we know what we're going to have to pay for, what we should be paying for.
Right.
So I'm going to transition into another scan that we did on this site. You can see things are looking a lot better, right? We're almost just about ready to go vertical. Maybe we're fine tuning some of these lots. Some different ways we can verify things like as-built or just elevations anywhere is with our great lot viewer feature. So I'm going to activate it here. And the nice part about this is it's easy to come in and get a good feel of, okay, which lots need my attention right now based on the cut fill balance and elevations, and which ones are okay to, are good to go, right? So with this tool, we break it down on a per lot basis, right? So our clients that are using this, they don't have to do anything other than really activate a couple of buttons here. So just a good way to verify, hey, we've got 1 cubic yard of dirt here, but over here, right, we're looking at, almost 30 cubic yards of dirt left on these lots. So from here, also being able to drill down and identify, based on your tolerance, because if you get the green light that says, okay, we're ready to go vertical, the lots are just about done. This is a way to identify any potential rework that might be needed, and hopefully can be identified early enough before equipment has left the site. So that's one way we can help with that verification part here. Drilling down a little bit more, right, we can see that we have some excess dirt here. So identifying drainage or potential runoff issues, we can use our cross-section tool. This is just one of my favorites just because of the view that it gives you. So I can see that this is where we're at now, and this is where we should be. So based on this
invoices for that dirt, yeah, especially if you're getting the invoice for that work being completed at this point. Again, it's just being able to pull this up, understand that we're using your own data. For those that are not too familiar with our tool set, we're using your plan files as overlays, your design files. And so just to be able to get those quick indicators to say, hey, there needs to be more work done. You know, why are we getting invoiced for these lots? You know, I think that this right here is just a great tool to say, hey,
Mhm.
you know, grading contractor, you know, you still have some work to do here. You know, this is not quite ready to be picked up.
Mhm. Absolutely. And something that we may have not touched on yet, of course, our clients that are on the call know this, but our turnaround time is 24 hours. So, today is Tuesday, right? If we fly the site today, you'd have that available the very next morning. So being able to quickly make decisions based on the most accurate site data is really where we're empowering those land development teams as well. All right. Well, I think that about, there's other tools in here, but I think these are the ones that are good for us to focus on for our topic today. So I'm going to hand it back over to Scott, and we'll do a little bit of a little Q&A session.
Little Q&A session. All right. Well, thanks, Jordan. Thanks for going through the tools. And again, folks, if you have any questions, outside of even what you've seen today, if you have some follow-ups, feel free to put them into the Q&A now, or reach out to, your account executive. We're happy to answer anything that you need from us. But okay, jumping into the first questions here. All right, so here's a good one. In your experience, how often should someone fly a project to make the most of the data? And I have an answer. Jordan, do you want to go first, or do you want me to start? It's up to you.
Yeah, you can start and I'll add in based on what I've seen as well.
Okay. My answer is going to be it depends. Just depends on you. It depends on the client. How often you really want to see that data. I think I have recommendations. I think what we've seen work well, especially in the early stages, things are just cleared. Maybe if there's mass grading going on. I think in those stages, if you're really wanting to track progress and just kind of stay on top of things, I would recommend a weekly or a bi-weekly flight cadence, just to pick up that information. Now, I would be lying. I have other customers that say we just don't want to see that data as often. But I think historically across our customers, it falls into that weekly or biweekly cadence.
Yeah, that's what I would see as well. And, it might be, and this is why it's important, to meet with you and learn about your needs, because every project is different. And it might be that, sometimes we end up coming in later in the project where, utilities are going in, you're kind of done with that mass grading, so we don't fly as much. But definitely when that earthwork is happening, beginning to almost end of the project, weekly and bi-weekly is what we see most often. I would say probably, 75-80% probably of our clients.
Yep, that would be accurate. Okay, good question. All right, another question. How do you capture this data? All right, Jordan, you want to jump into
Yep.
this one? All right.
Sure. Yeah, I'd be happy to. So, we are not a drone company, right? We're first and foremost a software company. We just happen to utilize drones as that primary way to collect the site data. So, we are using photogrammetry with some control on the site, and that is what ensures our 3 centimeters accuracy. So our drone is flying that, we have control, and then our customers have their CAD files that then we would upload into the software so they are able to compare current state of the site to their design grade. And again, once we fly the site, our clients have that data available the very next day. And we've got a whole network of certified drone pilots that we work with across the US and Canada. They help us be able to do that.
Yep, that's correct. And we make the recommendations a lot of times, or we can go out and place those, but the ground control points is what helps us capture that volumetric measurement and just to provide that accurate data. Okay, next question. Do we have any clients using this for land acquisition today? Do we help clients with land acquisitions? I'm
We
going to say
do.
yes. We absolutely do.
We do. Yeah.
I know that we're focused on land development today, but we absolutely do help folks with land acquisition, utilizing these tools. Very similarly, just depending on what they need, maybe it's just some quick topo data, some contour stuff like that. We can provide that as well, just to make some quick and accurate assessment on land.
Sure. And for land acquisition, for some folks, it could be that they are not, acquiring a piece of raw land. Maybe they are purchasing finished lots, right? So we can also do flyovers to verify things like elevations. Again, that lot viewer tool that I showed at the end with the breakdown is what they're utilizing for that. And then I also have a client in Colorado, and they're actually using Tracer to scan the raw land to get a sense of their development costs as well. And that's really useful when there's that flyover for land acquisition, because it's also helpful for the land development team as well, and that transition into land development, right? We've already flown, we already know what the site is like, and it's helpful to them too, because they already have that data as well, and now they can start tracking their dirt movement, assuming they decide to go, move forward with the piece of land that they're looking at.
Well, it gives them the ability to forward project too, like we were talking about earlier. I mean, I think that if you have an idea and understanding of what's needed or what's not needed, and you have a good, solid, trusted way to verify those quantities, I think that you can understand what kind of quantities are going to be needed going forward, how much money to budget, things like that. And so another kind of slight different topic than this, but yes, something that's very powerful, and another good way to utilize our tool. Okay, I can just keep talking, but I'm going to answer more questions. Can I add my contractors to Tracer to help us communicate and avoid disputes over billing?
Yes. Yes. Tracer is meant to be a collaborative platform. So your contractors, engineers, other folks on your team, it's unlimited users at no charge. So we definitely encourage that. Of course, it's up to you, right? You'd have control over, who has access to the project, but yes, absolutely. And that's a great way to just always be on the same page and collaborate within the platform as well. So that's a really good question.
Yeah. And, we always talk about keeping honest contractors honest, and, you don't have to share it. And honestly, it is up to you what you want to do with the people that you work with. But I think that the overwhelming majority of folks that utilize our service love it for its collaboration tool. It is a great collaboration platform for you guys to, create exhibits or to go back and look historically at the source of truth to see the historicals on work, anything that's needed in regards to billing and invoicing. So again, very powerful. All right, next question. How much notice do you need to get the drone service? That's a very good question, and I think that there's a couple of different layers to this one. I think we need to understand and where the site is located, understand what kind of pilots we have in the area, if there's kind of any FAA issues, stuff like that. But I think a big issue, or the biggest bottleneck I see, is really mobilizing to get ground control points placed. I think that we have such a large network of pilots that work with Tracer in North America and Canada that it's usually not about how quickly we can get on site. It's how quickly ground controls are placed to allow us to get on site to do those accurate volumetrics. I have seen it done as quick as 3 days from talking about a project to us actually providing the customer data. That's the fastest I've seen so far, Jordan. I don't know if you have any other examples. I'd say typically from my experience, a realistic expectation from start to flying is about 2 weeks. But again, that's just about communication across the board. It takes both parties to get that one up and running.
Yeah, and I'd be curious, the person who asked the question, I would definitely suggest if Tracer is something you might want to consider further on a project, like Scott mentioned, we'll be reaching out, and that would be a good opportunity to get some more details on that if it's something you're seriously gonna consider, and we would be able to walk you through all the steps on, what we would need from you and all that good stuff.
All right. Okay, so we're coming up here on time. I think I got time for at least another one. Is billing verification the only cost saving opportunity for using this platform? Do you want to answer this one? You can
I
start.
would say no, it is not the only way you can utilize Tracer. For example, eliminating the guesswork and verification we talked about a lot. It's not always, hey, I have a bill I need to verify with Tracer. That's just one way of doing it. But think about all of the dirt movement that's happening on site. Just being able to quantify that and make quick decisions with your engineer, with your contractor is one way, right? And then think about the other part, when you're doing raw development and maybe you are approaching the end of a project and you think your as-builts are almost ready to go. Having Tracer do another gut check, right? To see, hey, what can we fix? We have this data, we know exactly where we are. So let's work together because we are still on the equipment is still on site, right? Let's work together to figure out the rework for this. So it's everything from visibility to knowing exactly what your dirt quantities are. I mean, for example, too, projects that like we're flying a project in California and it's an old dairy farm. So our whole reason for flying Tracer is they have to track their spoils. They have to make sure that everything is off-site, ready to go for grading and building. So it's there's many, many different use cases as well.
And for anybody that wants to see that in more deep detail, we're happy to show any of you. You see the QR code up on the screen. Please scan the QR code, request a demo at any point in time. I know I didn't get to all of the questions that were submitted. I want to thank everybody for their time today. If you put a question into the Q&A box, like I said earlier, we're going to get to it, and so we'll be reaching out to you with a follow-up regardless. So thank you everyone for your time today. Jordan, thanks for obviously running through all the software and the tools, and we hope to see you guys on the next webinar. Have a great day,
Excellent.
everyone.
Thanks, Scott. Thank you, everyone.